So, Mr. Cates, what am I looking at here? I'm looking at a young Mr. Cates
Oh,
in IBM.
1978.
He says 1978. I'm not close enough. I don't know if you can hear him, but what are you working on?
Those were 3278, 79 displays that attached to control units.
So you're working on displays for control units. Okay, so let's get going on this interview here.
Then you go to now.
Yeah. So we did an interview with you coming out of the Navy. Well, we didn't, not necessarily coming out of the Navy. You were in the Navy. You were on the JFK aircraft carrier. You talked about the fire and the years that you were there. You talked about some of your friends. When you were younger, you had some friends whose dads got murdered. The weirdest thing, they got murdered at the campfires when they go drinking in the woods with their buddies.
Yep, be
They
careful
got
who
shot.
you drink with.
Yeah, be careful who you go out drinking with, and be careful when you go in the woods with somebody you don't know. And so now we're going to talk about you getting into IBM. How'd you get into IBM? And then tell us all about what happened with IBM.
I was very fortunate there because 1977 I had taken 60 days terminal leave from the Navy so I could try to find a job. And my wife was from Virginia, so I was going to stay in Virginia at the time. And couldn't find a job in Virginia though. I applied a lot of places. Nobody was hiring. And so I ended
What year was that again?
77.
77.
And so I went to, I told my wife, I said, let's go to North Carolina, Durham, and I knew there was a Research Triangle plant, IBM plant down there.
And you were from Durham. You grew up in Durham.
Yep, and I used to take my car out there and go, there was nothing out there at the time, so you could drive as fast as you wanted to. And we just blow the car out, so they used to say.
And what was that, the CUDA?
No, I actually had a 65 Ford Galaxy at the time that I just loved. It had glass backs on it. It was the worst car I ever had.
But you loved it.
Mechanical wise.
Yeah.
But I loved driving it. And the 67 Mercury Comet, I'd take those out there. I had 5 or 6 cars by the time I was 18.
Good gracious, you mean 5 different ones?
5 different ones.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I bought and paid for them all.
Right.
The CUDA was my new one at the time, 73 Plymouth. And then, but anyway, got hired. I was fortunate, like I said, I went down to Durham to just apply a couple places. My wife applied some places, and then when I got back to Virginia Beach, I had a mailgram from IBM saying they were going to hire me if I wanted to work second shift. And so,
Second shift night work?
yeah. So I said, heck yeah, I got 10% more for working second shift, and like I said, I was used to Navy pay, so wasn't a whole lot that I got paid back then. And
What'd they start you at?
73 was $303 a month. And by the time I got out, I was at E5 pay, I was making $558 a month. But you also had comrades and BAQ that was added on to that, that just meant you got paid for being married, if you had a dependent, that kind of stuff. And so anyway, I was $800 some a month at the time, and so I was happy to get hired at IBM and started working there. Well, what the incident that I was going to talk about was 1982.
Gotcha. What IBM start you out at?
$173 a week.
173 a week.
And then it got
Okay.
10% more for second shift, so it was right at 109, whatever that is.
Gotcha.
$200 a week.
All right.
Yeah. So.
And what kind of jobs did you do at IBM before the 82 incident?
I started out in manufacturing. I was on a wet line, which used to dip fiberglass raw materials into vats of chemicals for plating and soldering of different components to make computers. Okay, and then I got off of that line and went to a manufacturing line, the one you had the picture of, building and testing displays for IBM computers. And then I got off of that, went to QA, quality assurance, where I was inspecting other people's work and providing all types of charts and spreadsheet type stuff to upper management.
Gotcha.
And then, like I said, that was the job I was doing when we were in our office, and our second line manager came in and told us, they said, I want you guys to be quiet, but I need you to get out of the building as soon as possible. There's a sniper in the building. And all of us just looked at each other and just said, he's joking, because nobody believed what he was saying. And he said, I'm serious. Get out of the building, orderly, but get out of the building. And you're probably, I don't remember how many people were on site at the time. Excess of 5,000. At one point, they were talking about having 10,000 people there in a campus environment. I don't think we hit that number yet. But about that time, all of a sudden, I heard this noise like, which was an echo of a shot ringing out, and we just didn't. It was just flabbergasting to hear that, and because there was a breezeway going from our building by the credit union up to another building, and it was a short distance, but it's this breezeway, and we were hearing the rifle shots, so we went out to the building very fast, briskly walking, and as we were standing in the parking lot, there was a boatload of us out in the parking lot, and looked at building 205, and everybody was standing at the plate glass windows looking out at us in the parking lot, wondering what's going on. And we kept motioning for them to get out of the building. There's a sniper in that building, and they weren't paying attention. They didn't understand because they couldn't hear. And like I said, they came out, told us to get further out in the parking lot. We called it lower 40. And so we kept moving further and further away from the buildings and waiting, not knowing what's going on. Troopers, sheriff's department, everybody starts showing up, and at the back dock, the loading area. And then all of a sudden, I don't know how many minutes it was that went by, but we saw a guy jump off the dock, go back to his car. We heard shotgun blast and saw the blast. Actually, if you can believe that, you see like a bright orange flash where I guess the cops were shooting at him. He jumped in I don't remember if he had a little brown Vega or Chevette, a small brown car. He jumped in it. They blew out the back glass as he was driving away. He was shooting at them, but he got away. And he's driving right by us, probably 30 feet from us, and rounded the corner and headed on out with troopers and everybody else going after him. And he had, later on, it was determined when they arrested him, he'd actually pulled a small pistol, Derringer or something, and shot himself in the head, but didn't kill himself. And this, like I said, was back in '82, and he had shot 2 guys that I'm aware of in the plant. One of them died, a guy named Ralph Glenn, and wounded a few people because when he first went in, the rifle misfired. He turned the butt up and cold cocked the nurse because he had it. Story was he had it out for the people in medical because they had authorized him to be terminated. He was a Vietnam vet suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, and worked on a keyboard manufacturing line at the time. And I think he'd been there, I don't know, a couple of years, whatever. And whatever occurred, they let him go. And
they fired him, terminated him.
Yes. And he was angry over it. So he came back all camoed out, smoke grenades, firearms, rifle, and went into the place, and he was going to do damage.
Yeah.
And when I can tell you, when I saw the steel metal doors had bullet hole not through it, but like bigger than my thumb.
Yeah.
Just in the door where he had shot sporadically. People had died. You can just picture at a manufacturing plant what's going on.
Yeah. People
diving under conveyor belts, putting chairs up under doors to try to stop him from coming in, and there's no way to stop a bullet from going through partitions. And that's what most of these offices are made of, thin material.
Right.
and not even sheetrock.
What's this guy? What's this guy's name that did this in '82? We looked it up. I remember we looked it up.
Leonard Avery.
That's right, Leonard Avery. We looked it up on Google, and it came up for North Carolina, IBM, North Carolina,
Research Triangle Park,
1982.
And it wasn't the first time that year. It was like the second time it had happened. First time at the Research Triangle Park. First time was at a branch office, and I can't remember where it was at. I think it was in Maryland.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And
with IBM, right?
With IBM, and some guy had driven his car through the big glass windows at a branch office. I'm presuming it was a downtown location for them to drive the car through the windows. But and then he pulled out with a shotgun and killed 3 people.
Terrible, terrible. People shouldn't consider that that's an option.
But because of that, you might recognize, just like you go up to Walmart today or Target, and you'll see all these big barricades in front of the windows.
Oh yes.
All the doors. And that didn't exist until that time.
Right.
When he drove his car through there. And I think that's when it started. After that, they started putting up barricades.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for that interview. They laid people off at IBM, right?
Oh, yeah. There's at the time when I was working there, the 80s, early 80s, they used to tout about there were 7 people that had been laid off
Ever.
in 1943.
Okay, so
And they knew what happened to those people. But since then, mid 80s, 85, 86, they started laying off a lot of people, and they still do today.
Right. Okay, well, thanks so much. And we've got a couple other interviews with Mr. Cates, and they're very interesting on the channel. So I want you to like, subscribe, share, thumbs up, and take care. Appreciate it, Mr. Cates.
Yep.